Okay, welcome to Base Case 020, Walking Lines Over Two Fives. I'm your host, Phil. Two fives, two five ones, five ones. What is this? You know, I've likely got a cross section of listeners with different and various degrees of music theory training, and I like that. My bass studio is filled and has been filled with students of various levels of theory training. Some of my players have very little training and they can play a lot of stuff. They can walk lines and play heads and take solos. Some of my players in the past and right now and probably in the future have quite a bit of theory training and they struggle with walking lines, etc. And then also I have many players that have extensive theory training and they can play very well and read. I've got players that can only read chord charts and groove ones and fives, roots and fifths, and they do quite well at that. They're getting into the basics, but they're making things happen as a bass player. There's always a level, and then we're always trying to reach above that. But in all cases, we work on the theoretical concept as they apply to the bass fingerboard and fretboard. Because of the likely large disparities in players listening to this podcast, I don't get too far into theory because I'm not in front of you able to answer questions and otherwise untangle you from the web of music theory, which people can get really tied up in. But let me say this, and let me go on record. Music theory is not difficult, but it can be made difficult, and I see that happen all the time with players and sometimes teachers too. And also, let me go on record with this and underline in boldface, the more theory you know, the more that you can play, the better player you're going to be. So don't turn your back on theory. You need to know about that. So think about that. Two fives. I've played lines that work over two fives on previous episodes. All music has the 5-1 progression or the 2-5-1 progression or the 2-5 progression. I'm talking about Beethoven. Beethoven's music has it. Satchmo's music has it. Charlie Parker's music has 2-5s. Miles Davis's music has it. Rock music has it. Country music, Travis Tritt's music has 2-5-1s in it. Hip hop, pop music, praise and worship, it all has 2-5-1s. It's sort of the centerpiece of music. Someone once said that, and there's varying degrees depending on the teacher you study, that anywhere the 70 to 90% of music consists of 2-5-1 progressions or 5-1 progressions in there. It's a natural function of Western music. When I say Western, I mean that's the way we say it in music school. It means music from Western Europe that came over here, and that even includes rock music, the music we're all familiar with. And these lines I'm going to demonstrate, these are all walking lines that fit over the 2-5-1 progression in 5 different keys. They fit beautifully on the electric bass. They fit beautifully on the double bass. Bass players for decades have been playing these lines. Don't turn your back on them. I'll post videos on my new YouTube Bass Case channel. Check that out. And there's various videos there too. I'm working as fast as I can I'm kind of catching up. Because our instrument is tuned in fourths, and these progressions move in fourths, and don't get too caught up in this if you don't know what I mean. It's just theory stuff. The 2-5 progression or the 5-1 progression or the 2-5-1 progression is natural on our instrument. A 2-5 in the key of D major is E, that's a 2-chord E minor, going to A7, going to D major. Well, an E string, going to an A string, going to a D string. I mean, that's a natural way of thinking about it. I'm going to go through these, but first off, I want to urge you to pull them off the recording before you check them out on the YouTube channel. It's good for your ears, and it's good for your confidence and ear training. Listen to them and try to play along with them. The key. I'm going to play each of these 5 and 3 tempos, 60 beats per minute, 120, and 180. These are not arbitrary tempos. I use them in my studio, my teaching studio. I use them in my own practicing. 60 beats per minute. You should learn and practice everything in 60. When you're starting something, I don't care if it's an etude or a walking line or a solo, whatever you're working on, a scale, you should start in 60. It's where all technique is built. I'm going to be talking about this very soon, and Bob Reynolds, the great saxophonist, agrees. I agree with him. He agrees with me. It took me years to understand that. If you can play something, a walking line, a head, a solo, a scale, an etude, etc., at 60, then you really know it. And moving it up in tempo will be far easier. Now, listen to what I'm saying. This is important. You can save aggregate time by learning skills slowly. And I'm not just talking about music. Okay, here's the lines. Here's the first one. It's a G minor to C7 to F major. To give you a context, this is the last 4 bars of an F blues. This line sits on the back end of the bass. You know, for electric players, your first finger is going to be closest to the headstock. For double bass players, it's going to be closest to the tuning pegs, or what we call half position. So here's the first one, G minor to C7. Here it is in 60, just a nice walking line. Here we go. Here it is again, real slow, nice at 60. Okay, easy, real easy. Nothing to it. Just take it at that tempo. Learn it at that tempo. You know, get to it. You know, learn it from listening. You know, that's our best friends is our ears. Okay, now here it is at 120. Double the tempo, nice medium tempo that you've played probably numerous times if you've done a lot of playing. So here's same progression, same line, same notes, but at 120. Here we go. Nice and easy. Here it is again. And it is outlining those chords. It's going G minor, C7, and resolving up to F major. Okay, here it is the last time at 180, sort of what we call a medium up and kind of a brighter tempo. Here we go. Sweet, easy. And they fit beautifully. And that's the beauty of them. If it feels awkward, or if you have an awkward fingering, you're not doing it right. Okay, so think about that, then go to the video, right? Okay, here's the second set, C minor to F7 to B flat major. And for context, this is the last 4 bars of a B flat blues. It's the first 4 bars of Autumn Leaves, if you play it in G minor. And here it is. It's basically where that first one was the G on the E string. Now your third finger for electric players, or your fourth finger for upright players, is going to be on the A string, starting with the C. And it's just going to move up that nice ascending line. Here it is at 60. Moving up to that B flat. There's that point of resolution. It's dying to go up there. One more time. Here's that F7, moving to B flat major. Sweet. Learn it like that. Okay, now here it is at 120, medium tempo, same changes. 2, 5 chord to the 1, right? Here it is one more time. C minor, going to F7, covering that, resolving the B flat major. Okay, here it is again at that medium up at 180. Sweet, easy, try it again. Okay, nice, fits beautifully, played by thousands if not millions of bass players through the decades. Okay, go slow though. Okay, here's the third set of them. E minor to A7, moving to D major. This starts on the open E string. For double bass players, you're going to move to first position. Okay, here it is at 60, E minor, A7 to D major. There's D. Let's do it again. Here's E minor, going to A7. Landing and resolving on D. Okay, now here it is at that medium up, 180. Now I held off on giving you the context of this one because these are also work in minor 2/5s also. For context, this would work, that E minor to A7 to D major would also work on the first 4 bars of Beautiful Love, which is E half diminished, sort of a minor sound, to A7 flat 9 to D minor, but it works fine. Okay, here we're going to go to A minor, D7 to G major. And like I said, you can work these over minor, so these would work over Autumn Leaves, second 4 bars. They would work on the bridge of Alone Together. They work on the bridge of A Night in Tunisia. They work on the top 4 bars of Fly Me to the Moon and numerous other tunes. So here's A minor, D7 to G major, or A half diminished, D7 flat 9 to G minor in 60. Here we go. Nice and easy. That's the way you should practice that and learn it. There we go. A minor, A half diminished, D moving up the string, resolving the G. Okay. Now here it is in 120. Easy. Okay, now let's take it up tempo to 180. Still the same line, fits beautifully. Okay, now that's those. Now let me give you something more contextual to talk about. Check out, you think, well, who uses these? Is this like just for beginners? Absolutely not. Check out Monty Alexander's recording of Fly Me to the Moon. You can find it on YouTube. After the initial intro, John Patitucci, the bassist, begins walking under the head. What does he start with? You guessed it, that line. He moves on that A minor to D7 to G and makes that work just the same way with the way we're doing this line. This line, I keep saying this line, is that the name of it? When I first learned it, someone called it the Ray Brown line from the great bass player. I've not heard anybody call it that since, but sometimes I still refer to it as the Ray Brown line. I'm sure he played it a million times, but just to label it. Okay, here's the last one. D minor, G7 to C major, used in numerous tunes. There's a section in Fly Me to the Moon that uses D minor to G7 to C major. So that's one context. When you start the walking for the soloist in Satin Doll, that's the first 2 bars. So here it is at 60. E, F, F sharp, G, A, B flat, B, C. Easy. Here it is at 120. Nice. That feels good right there too. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Coming up, and there's that C major. And notice how this is just, it begs to go to that next chord. That's the beauty in these bass lines. Without getting too deep in theory, I said that they work over both major and minors 2/5s. But why is that? My bass professor at UNT, Lynn Seaton, once mentioned that, and we were in jazz bass class, that if you play the wrong third, that you have to play the right third. So if I'm playing that A7 line, I'm playing A, B, C, that's the wrong third, and then I play C sharp, the right third, and the whole thing works out right. And these lines do that. Think about that, but moreover, play these and start using them. I teach them to my students, and I wish they used them more. They do use them. I have to kind of cue them sometimes. Okay, so think about that, play them, learn them, and check out the videos. I'll talk to you later.